he talked about the salt of the salt of the world. That Christians are the salt of the world. But when you lose your saltness, then it becomes tasteless. Jesus also mentioned you're the light of the world. When you lose the light, what happens? Then people have to see the light you have. In Matthew 5:6, he said, in the same way, you must shine before people so that they will see the good things you do and praise your Father in heaven. And so really what we are saying is that in leadership, you should be able to do verbally what you're telling people. And when you do verbally what you're telling people, then you become like the two house builders. You know, the ones that Jesus talked about. There is one who listened to the word of God and actually implemented. What happened when he's compared to someone who has built his house on good rock. When the rains pour, then the house stands firm. But if you listen and you don't do, then you are compared to someone who built his house in sinking sand. What happens when the rains pour? Then the house is swept away. So really, as leaders, we must be like those people who built their house on rock, on solid rock, but not in sinking sand. Now, one thing that is important in leadership is that you must also be keen to know what people say about you. You must have a network as a leader. You must have a network, establish a network. When babashite wako anakuambia what people say about you. Like you go somewhere, you are a leader, let your people tell you. Let your people also have spies. Wakwambie walisemaje au crowd. Walisemaje about ni ile meeting, about the actions you did. Maybe you are giving some donations to people. How did they receive it? About even your speech, how did they receive it? You know, those ones can even sit among people. Just kusikiza wamesemaje. As a leader, you must have those networks. Why must you have such networks? So that you can improve in your communication as a leader. Now, one thing you need to know, communication is powerful as a leader. Communication can help us influence people. And communication can help us influence people positively or negatively. But be the kind of leader who wants to influence positively so that you leave a legacy. Because you'll be remembered for the good things you did in life. But then you know the thing, sometimes you take for granted what we do. But life is a show. When you're done with the show, people will remember. They remember, by the way, I like the teaching that we got from her. Or I like the music we got from him. I like the way he used to sing the piano. I like the way he used to serve the youth and all that. I like to be there. Because we are on transit, we are all mortal. There's no one who will be spared. So if God gives you an opportunity, do it diligently. And why do I say do it diligently? It's because, and this must stick in your mind, God is the rewarder of those who serve him diligently. He rewards, that is his principle. It might seem slow, but at the end of the day, the reward has to come. So really what I'm saying, care to know what people say about you. Even Jesus in Matthew 16:13 said, asked his disciples, who do people say I am? Who do people say I am? That is important. You need to ask, what do people say about my leadership? The functions we've been going. When we went to meet the youth, when we went to meet the mamas, when we went to meet the elderly, what did people say about that function? Feedback is important in communication. You must get feedback. You must get feedback from people about your communication. And when we are talking about communication, it is not necessarily what you say. Communication is about the actions you actually make. It can be the actions you make. It can be what exactly you say. Now, for example, as a leader, you must know how to behave if you're ambushed. You know, sometimes you can be ambushed as a leader, yeah? Mtu ajua, huyu ni kiongozi amekuja, hebu tujiposition leo. Hatuwezi toka bure. Leo lazima. So as a leader, you have to know how to react. And when you are ambushed as a leader, never ever make an emotional promise in leadership. I don't know whether you're getting me, because some of you will be leaders with time. Never make an emotional promise. Labda maybe when ni mkubwa ni a certain organization, unaenda mahali unazungumza na youth, unazungumza baby na mama, then the crowd is there, is cheering you and all that, and then unasimama na microphone unasema, by the way, nimeamua every Wednesday na Friday nitakuwa napeana chakula bure. Watu wanapiga makofi na ujui itatoka wapi, unataka tu makofi. You've already made a promise. Never make a promise as a leader, because when you make a promise, when you make a promise as a leader and you don't fulfill, people will always remember that. Unakumbuka nakwambia sijui atafanyia nini. Hata my youth tukaklap alisema tunapatia 50k mpaka sasa. Na mama anasema anafanya nini mpaka sasa. So that will be your tag, that this is a leader who promises and he never fulfills. Never make a promise. If you have, give. Okay? When you give, that is an unverbal action, and your unverbal action will be taken positively, because you'll be given credibility for the action you'll have done. Now in leadership, let me also say, when you should be sensitive to the crowd when you are talking in leadership. Sometimes you can be given an opportunity to talk. So maybe when you talk, you find, like for example, maybe I can comment on political leadership. Sometimes when you open your mouth, you go to a place where people are really anti your camp. So the first statement you make, sometimes maybe people can have been paid. Again, boom, boom. So in a situation like that, as a leader, when you talk to a crowd that is not friendly, don't begin competing with the crowd. Usema watanisikiza, whether they want it or not. Don't compete with the crowd that lazima wanisikize. As a good leader, if they boo, you keep quiet. Okay? You keep quiet, you humble yourself. And then you wait again. When you keep quiet, they'll have learned something from you. Yeah? So when you begin to talk, some of them will be sensible and they'll not give you that reaction. So they'll allow you to continue. But if they continue being, they don't talk. Just humble yourself and go back again. So that is what leadership is all about. As a leader, you have to know when to say, what to say, and how to say. You must know the dynamics of the people you're talking to and the crowd that you have, the audience that you have. It is very important so that you know how to actually approach your audience. Now, another thing which allowed me, Gregory, to talk about this is very important, okay? I'll skip some of the things that I've said, but I want to talk about this issue because it is important for you. As a young man, as a young woman. Now, when it comes to leadership, appropriate body language is important. When I'm talking of appropriate body language, I'm talking of non-verbal communication. One, as a leader, you must be sociable. You cannot afford to be a leader when you are snob. It can't work. When you're a leader, you should be ready to smile with anyone. You should be ready to shake anybody's hand. Hata ukiona hizi kipita unajaribu, unaenda ona unaenda mama, unajaribu hata kupiga. You have to be sociable. You have to be sociable. You can't afford to be a leader and then you are snob. Because in leadership, it's not about you. It's not about your family. It's about others. You know, when you become a leader, you are the hope of others. Watu watakuletea hata issues hawezi solve. Hata issues yani zinakushinda lakini sikiza tu. It doesn't time kusikiza because they will bring you. Even issues you cannot solve, they'll just bring to you because you are the beacon of hope. That is really what happens. Now, as a leader, you must have empathy for others. Always. When you see someone, look at that person, the bright side of that person. How can that person be helped? Is it encouraging? Give an encouraging word. And this we get an example of Jesus. Jesus had empathy for the people he met, you know. He never sent people away. Like when he was going to Jericho, there's some two blind people who saw him. Oh, Jesus, the son of David. Oh, have mercy on us, have pity on us. So the crowd was like, wachana nao. So, nani hawaoni, wachana nao. Hata wajui nini wanasema. But Jesus had pity on them. What do you want me to do for you? We want to see. What did he do? He allowed them to see because he had pity on them. Have pity for others. When Jesus saw also the woman, I mentioned it last week, who bled for 12 years. How kumdharau na huyu mama for 12 years? Hata sitaki kukuta karibu. Hata sijikuze. Because for 12 years ameenda wholesale yote, amechukua pads zote zimeisha, bado wanaitisha, bado wanaendelea kumtumia pads. Even charity wamekuja wamedonate pads bado. Hiyo nini inaendelea? Aliamua courage, my daughter. Your faith has healed you. So you must learn to empathize with others. Just as a good leader, empathize with others' situation. Because if you're better than others, it's not that you did anything better than them. It is not that you're better than anybody else. It is because of God's grace. If you have a good job, it's not that you did anything that ulisoma sana kwa bidii, wengine wako anasoma wakati wa kusoma wewe ukisoma kwa bidii na mwingine akitasoma anapata usingizi analala. Akienda kusoma ndio huyo amegonga meza. No. It is God's grace. It is because of God's grace. Even for you to get that job, it is because of God's grace. And if you're a believer, it is a matter of time. With time, God will visit you. You get a job, and this situation you're going through now would be a situation that will be encouraging others who will be facing that challenge. Kuambia, God will come your way because He came your way. Another thing I must talk about non-verbal communication. Whenever you communicate and you're going somewhere, dressing is important. Even before you begin talking, even before you begin communicating, people will look at how you dress. People will look at how you appear. And na watajijazia mambo wengine hata ila una habari. Are you getting? Yes. I think I just dress like this deliberately. I usually don't dress like this when I'm coming to church. These are my official wears when I'm going for my lectures or when I'm going for other meetings. But I just wanted to communicate that people will judge you according to your dress. From top to up. If you're going for an official function, you must be officially dressed. You can't escape. Useme unajua sasa si mayouth, unajua hizi trends zetu ni tofauti, lazima niende nitengeneze dreads zangu vizuri, nawe ni mwanaume. Nitengeneze hizi dreads zikae vizuri ndio niende hiyo meeting. Hata hivyo lazima pia nitoboe masikio kidogo, nionekane fashionable. Kama ni kazi hiyo kazi ndio hata utapata. So you must be conservative in your dressing. And you know this, I'm not ashamed of saying because I'm a teacher, I'm a lecturer, I'm a mother, I'm a leader. And I'm bold to say that your dressing must be presentable. Come on, up of your worship, you're in the worship team, for heaven's sake. You know, you have a duty to prepare others before wapate hiyo injili. Usiende hapo hivyo, yani ukiangalia tu kwa mtu ame dress, skirt ni kama handkerchief imefika hapo. Na kama ni nywele, hizo dress zimefika hapa. So that they match with the skirt pale imefika. You know, by the time you're going there kuimba, utakuwa umekwaza wewe.
You have the attention.
Many will not listen to you. So have a conservative dressing. When you are going there, you're in the worship team, have a conservative dressing when you're going for an interview. When you're going for an interview, as a leader, especially the youth, it is very easy to if you're invited for an interview, it's very easy to get that job. Because one, you're young, And for you to be shortlisted for an interview, it means you have the qualification. But people want to see, how does this person look like? You know? So they want to see your confidence. And you know, confidence begins with how you presented yourself. So hata kama unaenda interview, usiamke tu kwa nyumba kutoka ati I'm going for an interview. Unafanya tu kazi yako haraka, hata chai utakunywa na kimbia interview. Hapana, utafika huko wakati interview you are panting. The interview begins from your closet nyumbani. Uringe, naenda interview. So you already prepared. Unaenda umesoma, nini hii company inafanya nini, ni hivi nafanya. Ukisha sasa enda kwa bafu ufurahie hiyo maji. Hebu ningane naenda interview hebu Bangkok kila mahali. Hebu unaenda ukiwa unanielewa. Mimi I'm not high. Ukienda sasa kuvaa, borrow even if you don't have a suit or presentable dress, you better even borrow for an interview. So that saa zile unaenda ni umedress umejiangalia kwa mirror. Unauliza unakaa namna gani? Hata una practice some non-verbal. And eye contact, you know? You practice before you go. Because you want that job. You want confidence. You know, these are things maybe nobody would have told you, but I have to tell you. Yeah? Confidence starts with you. So make sure that you are dressed to the occasion when you go for that interview. Mtu anaona huyu youth haki hatuwezi kumwacha. Tukimwacha tutakuwa tumepoteza. So your dressing is important. Get to know what kind of occasion it is. Then dress according to the occasion. If it's official, be official. Ukikutana maybe unaenda kuzungumza na mama na you want to reach that mama, close the gap. Usiende tena umedress hivi officially unaenda kuongea na mama unaambia dress kama mama. Dress kama mama. Sio ati umedress kama unaenda kwa ofisi na unataka mama. Una dress kama ni vitenge, vaa hizo vitenge, kama ni kufunga kitambaa, kama ni kuweka nini, ficha hiyo nywele yako kidogo, uende uongee na mama, then accept it, because you have to close the gap. When you're communicating with people, you have to close the gap that is there so that they relate with you as equals. The minute you do that in communication, when it comes to the youth, also do that. When it comes to language, I must touch on language also. In communication and leadership, you must be flexible in your language. You must identify, first of all, what kind of people am I talking to? Come on, my youth. Now, unajua the kind of language they use, you can code switch. Unaweza zungumza because you want to reach them. Are you getting? You want to reach them, so you talk and then una code switch. But for heaven's sake, if you're going for an official meeting, highly official, always use the high variety of language. Approximate to the high variety. And the high variety ni ile kizungu inafunzwa shuleni. Use the standard language. Use English and don't code switch. And don't mix with Kiswahili. Don't code switch. Because this is something you'll have practiced. Even before the presentation, you'll have practiced in your room. You know, how you're going to present, how you're going to talk, and all that. So during the presentation, you'll have decided the words you're going to use. You know, when you're going to communicate in public, you'll have made notes, now you use that one language. Your English peke yake. Don't go to a meeting that is official and then you want to mix languages. People will look at you like you're not knowledgeable, yet you're knowledgeable. Although you might assume, I think the level of education is not really, is moderate. Don't show people that, because you want credibility. Credibility is earned. Speakers earn credibility. You can't force a crowd to believe in you and say that I love that, you know, that mama, I like the way she communicates and all that. It will come from you. They'll give you credit. And you know, the crowd is usually genuine. You know, if you're good, they'll say, that speech was great. Now, when you're using Kiswahili and you're going to people, you know, mama, most of the time wanazungumza Kiswahili, wacha mambo ya kizungu bwana, wacha. Usiende approximate to the standard Kiswahili, unazungumza nao kwa Kiswahili, try your best. And as a communicator and as a leader, you must learn Kiswahili. You can't escape from it. Kiswahili is a national language. So speak good Kiswahili, and when you're speaking to the mamas, usitumie sheng, mtatupoteza hata tutaelewa ni nini unasema. Because sheng is never changing. Yeah? But standard Kiswahili does not change. So make sure unajua. And then when you're communicating also to people who are maybe speaking different vernacular, okay, najua mlilelewa Nairobi, labda amjui lugha, but in communication there's a way in which you can break this. You know, like you're going to communicate to Luya speakers and you want to win their confidence. You can just look for a song. Masayega yeso gajiranga ngenda, Masayega yeso gajiranga ngenda, Hallelujah gajiranga ngenda, Hallelujah gajiranga ngenda, gajiranga ngenda, Hallelujah gajiranga ngenda, Hallelujah gajiranga ngenda, Hallelujah gajiranga ngenda. Hey. By the time you do that, you close the gap. People are happy with you. Huyu hata tumeimba hiyo lugha ya kidini, hiyo lugha ya Kiluya tumeimba and all that. You've already closed the gap. So look for a way in which you can reach people and close that gap, even if you don't know the language. But in leadership, you must know Kiswahili and also try your best to also speak that language. If you really want to, for example, if it's a political seat, try your best, and it's so easy. You can listen. Ukiangalia kwa mtandao kuna audio translations, different languages. So choose one. You don't have to know everything, but there are core issues, that you can learn about communication. Ukienda mahali mrembe bosi, mrembe kadi, mrembe. Then look even for a song. The songs are just common. Look for a common song that you can sing in that language. Like for example, the Luo, which ones do they have? Wanuadi ka Yesu, wanuadi ka Yesu, wanuadi cha mkima. Utapata sasa hiyo crowd imechukua hiyo wimbo na imekuwa yao. So really in this class we have been talking about communication, and I've mentioned that you have to be flexible in your communication so that you get to know your audience. What kind of audience do you have? Ni wa Kiswahili, zungumza Kiswahili. Ni wa Sheng, jua una mix. High variety, maybe you're talking to internationals or you're talking in campus, use the high variety, the standard variety, but don't use Sheng. For heaven's sake, don't use Sheng when you're talking to these people, because it will communicate negatively. Now, with that, take home. One, you must listen to and obey God. That is a take home. We have seen people who did that, who obeyed God, and those who did not. Two, you must listen to people. Have a network and listen to people. Three, you must identify your role in leadership and communicate clearly. You can never all be the same. Or rather, sorry, we can never all be the same. And then, four, care to know what people think of you. What do people say you are? What do people think of you? That will help us improve our nature as communicators. And then never make an emotional promise. Watu wanashinanga kwa gate yako kila mara. Alituambia every Wednesday atakuwa anapatia chakula. Na unapata line na kwa there are some people who run away from their homes. Unapata line kwa hapo nje kwa gate na ngoja. Kama uko na gates mbili unatokea hii gate nyingine. Because sasa you can't face the crowd. So uliwaambia. I know when you promise the crowd, that is their right. Hawataki kujua kama utachukua loan ndio uwakulisha. Then have appropriate body language. Dress according to the occasion. Be flexible in communication, and you must, and this is a must, you must be social. You cannot be a leader and you're arrogant. It can never work. leadership is not about yourself, it's about others. Because you're the beacon of hope, and when people see you, they see hope. Hata unakuwa ni tu unakuwa cancel hata vitu hauelewi bado wanataka ucomment. So you can't afford to keep to yourself because it is a role that God has given you. Bwana asifiwe tena. And that marks the end of today's talk. I don't know whether Mama Pastor you have something.
I think I have questions. Anything else you want to clarify?